Hey everybody, tonight we're going to do a feeding video here in my native tank, and tonight we're going to focus sort of front and center. Right here we have my little tessellated darter, and right here we have my little sculpin. So I'm hoping we'll be able to get a little bit of video tonight of the sculpin actually eating some of these bloodworms that we're going to be putting in the tank. Of course the minnows go crazy. I gotta throw a few out in the tank just to get the minnows distracted, and then I can put some down to where we want. So hopefully we're going to see that little sculpin gulp a few of those up. There he goes, he is gulping them up. So that's been my biggest concern. That sculpin is a predator, and I've heard stories about it being a sort of fussy kind of predator. It only eats certain types of foods, and they're difficult to keep alive apparently. I've had a lot of them in the past, and they've never really survived for very long, and I always chalked it up to the crayfish catching and eating them, but I never really paid a lot of attention to their diet specifically. And since I've had this one, I've really been actively trying to keep this one alive. I've been putting snails in the tank, and I've been putting these bloodworms as well as brine shrimp and mysis shrimp have both been going in the tank on a regular basis as well. And I've seen the sculpin when it was just out of sight. I could see it sort of dashing its head forward when I'd put some mysis shrimp in the area. So I assumed it was eating the mysis shrimp, but I didn't know for sure. I had not actually seen it physically consume any of the food I'd put in the tank. So tonight, this is the first time I've actually witnessed with my own eyes that it is eating these bloodworms. So that's a good sign. I assumed it was eating something. You know, it's been in the tank long enough now that if it wasn't eating something, it wouldn't be in the tank anymore. And I don't know if you can see it or not on camera. I know you can see this. I also tend to squirt some of these bloodworms around in some other nooks and crannies, make sure the crayfish get them. And of course it makes for forage for the darter and for the sculpin. It's not just one pile of leaves. I don't know if you can tell or not, that crayfish is going crazy in the back there because it got those bloodworms squirting in. Let me get the last bit of worms in there, and then I'll go ahead and get the camera in my hand, and we'll see if we can't get some better footage of this kind of stuff. We got another crayfish that's out at this end of the tank too, the right hand side of the tank. Alright. So that's my little tessellated darter, and that of course is the sculpin. That was the crayfish I was talking about. I don't know if it showed up on camera or not while I was squirting the bloodworms down in there, but that crayfish came charging out of the cave when it tasted the food. I don't know exactly how it works, but I know their antennae have taste buds or some type of sensor in them. I have seen them moving along, and they're moving their little antennae around, and they certainly react when they see other crayfish. You know, you can tell they're using them as sort of like a feeler so they can tell where other things are. But when they taste something that's food, when that feeler comes in contact with something that's a food item, man, they are on it so fast it's unbelievable. So they have to have some kind of food sensing type organs in that antennae and those, you know, feelers that stick out in the front of them, and they not only sweep for what's around them in the way you might use a cane to help you see if you were sight limited, but they also use those as sense organs to tell when there's food in the water. And I can even tell when a crayfish is at the far end of the tank. If I put food in the tank, you'll notice their antennae sort of stick up and start swaying around. They can tell, they can taste something in the water, and then they'll start moving towards it, and they'll use their feelers to sort of zero in on which direction it's coming from. You can absolutely tell they are using those as sense organs far beyond just feeling their way around with them. So that's what I assume happened when I squirt those crayfish right down the mouth of the cave that one lives in. I probably gave it a snootful of them, and it came rushing out to see where all that food was coming from. So let's try to stand back and get a macro of that sculpin. Bear with me here if it goes out of focus for a moment. Let me find it again. And it is not going to do it. I don't think it knows what to focus on. I should be far enough away that the macro works. I just don't think it's able to focus because of those weird colors. Let's try one more time. Sorry for all this shaking around. There it is. Almost looks like a grouper when you look at it from the front. But it definitely has those enormous sail-like pectoral fins on it, which are typical of sculpins. So I'm sure this is a sculpin. And based on the species that are around here, the mottled sculpin is pretty much the only one that it really would be. So that's why I've kind of concluded that that's what it is. I really apologize for all this shaking around. I'm freehanding this at a macro zoom and trying to talk at the same time. So there we go. We're gonna I want to see him gobble something up while we've got him zoomed in like this, because I want to see his mouth open. You know, the moment I zoom out, he's going to do it. Alright everybody, I'm going to call it good right there. We'll leave you a last look at my little darter. So I'm going to say thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed that. Don't forget, this one here is my 40-gallon native tank. Make sure you're subscribed, you don't want to miss anything I got coming up. You never know what it's going to be with me. Thanks again, and I'll see you real soon in the next one.